Hello everybody. I am here today to talk to you a little bit about developing hypothesis questions and null and alternative hypothesis statements. So I'm going to start out with asking a question. How does more days of outside play affect an adolescent male's depression? So we don't have to define anything yet, like how we're going to test or what we're doing or anything like that. What we are going to do is define our independent variables and our dependent variables. So I would like to define this with a number of days played outside. So obviously it's quantitative. It could have a 0, so I'm going to give it a ratio. Measurement. Adolescent male's depression. We could give that a ratio. Measurement as well. So now that we know what kind of measurement we're going to use, and this is not something that is used right away, but it does come in handy when you're trying to determine what test you're going to be using to analyze the data. So let's get on to writing our hypothesis. My hypothesis is that more outside play will decrease depression levels in adolescent males. So I'm going to write a null hypothesis that says outside play will not have a significant effect on depression levels of adolescent males. Null hypothesis means that we expect nothing to happen when we apply the treatment. An alternative hypothesis says yes, something will happen. So my alternative hypothesis is that outside play will have a significant effect on depression levels of adolescent males. So that is what I'm saying is yes, that is happening. So we've all read about rejecting the null and failing to reject the null. We walk into every research question expecting to not reject the null hypothesis. We are expecting that nothing would happen, and then surprise, something does. Then we reject the null hypothesis. So this is all based on null hypothesis. And you will find that in most research situations, that is the case. We have this hypothesis, we think this will happen, but we don't expect anything to happen. It's just kind of a rule of thumb. So, we're going to come over here, and we are going to look at how this looks on a bell curve. So, our null hypothesis is dead in the middle, and then we have a critical value. As I said, we always expect nothing to happen. Now this critical value says that anything above or outside of the critical value says the effect is not by chance or natural consequence or natural occurring. So this would mean it has a significant effect. So when you calculate your critical value, it's saying these are your extreme values. These values, anything out here, says that you reject the null hypothesis. It's saying that something indeed did happen, and so it's not a null. Something happened, so we reject the null hypothesis. This says the results of my study and analysis show that greater than 95% of my data, so 5% of your data says it's significant to over 5%. It's kind of confusing. We haven't learned that yet, but we will get to it. So your critical value, anything beyond your critical value says it's significant and we reject the null. So significance means we reject the null. Not significant, anything in here, we fail to reject the null. So please keep that in mind and have a great day.